From mobsters to global corruption on a nationwide scale, history has shown us that sports scandals can be just as dramatic as the games themselves. Let's dive into 5 of the biggest scandals in sports history. Baseball, America's pastime. Hot dogs, home runs, peanuts, and a World Series rigged by mobsters. In 1919, the Chicago White Sox were a powerhouse team. Hard to imagine today, I know. But behind the scenes, many of the players were fed up with their cheap owner, Charles Komsky. And I mean seriously cheap. The man once made his players pay to wash their own uniforms. That's a Mr. Krabs type of thinking. Enter Arnold Rothstein, a New York gambling kingpin who had an idea. Pay players to deliberately lose the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds. Lured by promises of easy money, 8 White Sox players agreed. The execution of this scheme, let's just say it left a lot to be desired. Some players threw pitches into the dirt, others botched easy plays, and suspicious reporters quickly smelled something fishy. The Reds eventually won the series, but the promised payoffs to players weren't even delivered in full. The scandal blew up, and by 1920 the players were indicted, and though they were found not guilty in court, all 8 were permanently banned from the Major League. It was one of the darkest chapters in baseball history, but it also led to sweeping changes, including the appointment of the league's first commissioner to protect the integrity of the game. Fast forward to the world of figure skating, an icy arena that suddenly turned from a show of skill to a soap opera. It was 1994, and 2 American figure skaters were dominating the headlines. Nancy Kerrigan, the decided favorite, and Tonya Harding, the underdog. But the competition was far from clean. Just weeks before the US Figure Skating Championships, Kerrigan was attacked after a practice session. A man ambushed her with a police baton, striking her leg while she cried out in pain. The culprit? The attack was orchestrated by Harding's ex-husband and her bodyguard to eliminate Kerrigan from the competition. Apparently, sportsmanship was optional. The plan, however, backfired spectacularly. Not only did Kerrigan recover in time to skate in the Winter Olympics, where she won the silver medal, Harding finished 8th and was later banned for life from figure skating after pleading guilty to hindering the subsequent investigation into the attack. The whole saga was a bizarre mix of crime, tabloid drama, and Olympic pressure that remains one of the wildest scandals in sports history. During the 2010s, Russia orchestrated a massive state-sponsored doping program to give its athletes a competitive edge. We're talking hundreds of athletes across dozens of sports, all fueled by a carefully planned cocktail of performance-enhancing drugs. The operation was so elaborate it involved Russia's anti-doping lab. That's right, the very people meant to prevent cheating were in on it. During the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics, the contaminated urine samples were swapped out through a secret hole in the wall like in a Cold War spy movie, but with pee jars. The cover-up unraveled thanks to whistleblowers and investigations by the World Anti-Doping Agency. The result? Russia was banned from numerous international competitions and medals were stripped from the competitors. It was one of the largest doping scandals in history, shaking trust in the Olympics and what can happen when cheating goes nationwide. Soccer, or football, is the world's most popular sport, but in 2015 the governing body behind it, FIFA, was exposed for prioritizing backroom deals over the beautiful game. For years, rumors swirled about corruption within FIFA, when the US Department of Justice dropped a bombshell. Dozens of officials were indicted for bribery, fraud, and money laundering. The scale was mind-boggling. Over $150 million in bribes and kickbacks had been exchanged for things like tournament hosting rights and lucrative media deals. Even choosing Russia and Qatar to host the World Cup came under heavy scrutiny. Police raids swept through luxury hotels in Switzerland. FIFA officials were hauled away, and longtime President Sepp Blatter eventually resigned under the pressure. The scandal revealed a culture of corruption that had been festering for decades, and while reforms were promised, many fans still look at FIFA with a skeptical eye, because if there's one thing bigger than soccer, it's the money behind it. Finally, college basketball, where a group of players learned the hard way that making deals with mobsters rarely ends well. In the 1978-79 season, several Boston College players got caught up in a gambling scheme orchestrated by members of the infamous Lucchese crime family. The plan wasn't to lose games outright, it was more subtle than that. Players would shave points by deliberately underperforming just enough to affect the betting spread without making it too obvious. At first, the players saw easy money, but dealing with mobsters quickly turned ugly. Threats were made, games were compromised, and the whole thing spiraled out of control. The FBI eventually uncovered the scheme, leading to multiple arrests and convictions. Even Henry Hill, the real-life inspiration for the gangster from Goodfellas, was involved, later testifying about the scandal. The fallout was a stark reminder that when organized crime dips its fingers into sports competitions, everyone loses. Except maybe the bookies. Each of these stories left a permanent mark not just on the athletes involved, but on the way we watch and trust sports today. Because when the final whistle blows, the scoreboards might say one thing, but history will say another.